Today I'm going to review on Infinity War, the new movie just came out. So I just recently saw it about a week ago. So this is my thoughts on the movie. So this will be quick recap. Just to do a quick recap on the movie. So the main antagonist Thanos, he's trying to collect all seven Infinity Stones, which control all aspects of reality of the universe. And when he gets these seven stones, he's gonna have enough power to wipe out half of the population in the universe in order to keep the universe from being overpopulated. Where to the point that there wouldn't be enough resources for everybody. So he's doing this to have have equal have equal sharing of resources throughout the universe. That's his goal of it, and that's how he sees things. He thinks that by wiping out half the population of the universe, he will achieve his goal, and everybody will be happy. So that's the main point. That's what's like the problem with the story. Now we have the Avengers, particularly Thor, the Hulk, Iron Man, Spider Man, Vision, Wanda, Maximoff. No, I don't think it's Wanda. Oh, Wanda Maximoff, and many others from Earth. And we also have the Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, all these characters eventually come together in order to defeat Thanos. So there's a lot of different aspects of this movie. One aspect was love. Another aspect was ego, and the final aspect that I think was the main point of the movie was the fear of death. I think that was the main aspect of this movie. So I'm gonna go to the three I'm gonna go through the three main points of this movie. So, love. Now, there was a lot of love, established this movie. The love between Vision and Wanda, the love between um, the, um, the Guardian of the Galaxy and the dude from the Guardians and Gamora. There was a love between Thanos and Gamora, and there was love between Iron Man and his lover, but that wasn't too significant. Um, what else was there? And also there was love between. I would even say those might be like a little. I would say teacher apprentice relationship, a love between Spider-Man and Iron Man. Not in a so, and I don't mean like that, but more so like a teacher student apprentice thing. So everybody, right, has someone they love. They had an emotional attachment to something, and what happened throughout the movie, what was repetitive, was that everybody, when it they perceive their emotional attachment of love more important to the survival of all life forms in the universe. So their own individual love, their own individual emotions was more important, was more valuable, was more important, was more significant, was more was more um was, more significant than stopping Thanos from achieving all seven stones, which will probably end up killing them. And if they're dead, they won't be able to love this person in the first place. But yet, in order to stop that from happening, they may have to sacrifice someone they love, or someone that they love probably is going to end up dying. And within this final battle against Thanos, and so we have Vision and Wanda. Wanda was assigned by Vision to destroy the Mind Stone inside his brain, inside his head, and she didn't want to do that. She was like, no, right? So that was her, know what I'm saying? Her emotional attachment blinded her from a greater purpose. You know what I'm saying? That was that. She couldn't see behind to a higher frequency. Uh, she could see behind. She couldn't see high. She couldn't see on a higher frequency above her emotions. Um, in order to do her duty, a duty that was more important than what she personally felt. So everything was personal in this. Everything was personal in this movie. Even Thanos was his actions was personal from a personal perspective because he didn't grow up in a comfortable life, and because of this, he saw the ugliness in reality, and he to him, in order to bring order and peace, there must be chaos and death. That was, know what I'm saying, and that's how he saw things because he grew up in an ugly reality, so he decided to use that same energy in order to bring happiness throughout the universe, because he has this say the universe complex and this God complex that he's the one that has the right to judge what should be the universal laws and orders, and that was his kind of his ego and also his love, and where his love comes from. He had love. Thanos basically he has love for different types of things. It may not seem so, but it might be the total. It might be adversary to his name, but Thanos had love for life, and through death, he thought, or he thinks, but in the movie he thought that life could be sustained, and he also had love for a specific life, which was Gamora. Even though he came to her planet and murderized half her population, including her mother, he took a liking to her and kept her on his side. So, but he thought that what he was doing was the right thing. So that was his love and his ego. And because his but thing is the interest. Now I'm thinking about it. The interesting thing about Thanos is that his love actually allows him to complete his goals. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else's love disallowed him to complete their goals. So even Iron Man, the teacher-apprentice relationship between Iron Man and Spider-Man, Iron Man has, you know what I'm saying, he cares about Spider-Man as basically more like a student, you know what I'm saying, an apprentice. But he was trying to stop Spider-Man from coming. But if Spider-Man would have came, that plan they would have did in the middle of the movie, I'm sorry, it's gonna be spoilers. I'm sorry I mentioned it late, but their plan they did in the movie, he took a big part of it because he was gonna pull the glove off of Thanos' fist. So if Iron Man's feelings, you know what I'm saying, was able to block those chains of events. If the Guardian of the Galaxy didn't interfere, Spider-Man would have saved the entire universe. You know what I'm saying? So that was also an interference of emotions through Iron Man. So another thing that's all 3 points is connected: love, ego, and fear of death. Another thing that I'm going to talk about is ego. Everybody's ego. Everybody had an ego. Of course, we know Iron Man has an ego. Of course, we know Spider-Man had an ego, right? And so some of these people are humans, and we know that. Of course, we can relate to it as human beings. We can relate to the fact that we can have really big egos, and our egos because we have really big egos, we might not the qualification to have a responsibility of the entire universe. You know what I'm saying, doesn't match the egos that the people had in these movies. They're supposed to be heroes. They're supposed to be the Avengers, but their egos doesn't necessarily match their job description. So I'm gonna speak on particularly one character. We talk about when the Guardians of the Galaxy. It was his love too for Gamora. His ego this allowed him to. This ego caused basically the plan to fail or to stop Thanos. You know what I'm saying? Because he was so focused on vengeance. You know what I'm saying? On his own personal goals that it was all about him. Like, you know what I'm saying? He was the center of the universe, but he couldn't see that the universe doesn't revolve around him. You know what I'm saying? He just one revolution and many revolutions, and in reality was saying that Gamora's death meant nothing compared to what Thanos was about to do, because Gamora died. You know what I'm saying? She died, and her death was able to allow Thanos to achieve the Soul Stone. So technically, she was gonna die anyway, regardless, because Gamora wanted him to kill her, so Thanos couldn't get the Soul Stone, but he ended up getting it anyway. So she was gonna die regardless. So, and he knew this. Because her Gamora's sister told him. So, but he was so enraged that his thoughts he couldn't think clearly, and his ego took over and his emotions, and they failed to stop Thanos. And that could have possibly been the last chance. So the fact that they failed to stop Thanos, he let his ego take over, right? Thor also had a big ego, because he of course we all know his ego. He has a god complex. Technically, he's supposed to be a god, but he's not. All that super powerful. You know what I'm saying? He's not like Superman. You know what I'm saying? Or someone that can like snap their fingers and make the whole universe go out of existence. So he had an ego and wanted to defeat Thanos, and you could say that interfered also at the end when he came and tried to stab Thanos through the heart. So apparently he wasn't really. He could have had good intentions, but he probably wasn't even thinking right. He probably had this glory mindset that I'm gonna stab Thanos through the heart, but he didn't think to chop his head off. That's what Thanos said you should have took the head. And that's an old, common phrase in movies and cartoons saying. We all know that if you want to make sure someone's dead, you take their head, not their heart. You know what I'm saying? But it apparently didn't work. So that's why he said he should have took the head. Thor wasn't thinking. It was his ego. Because I'm a god. You know what I'm saying? So that was his ego. The Hulk he suffered from a lot of ego too. He couldn't really make his full transformation because he was battling, you know what I'm saying, his Hulk ego and his human ego. So that was a problem with that. That was an issue too. So everybody in the movie had an ego, right? So the final thing I'm gonna talk about, which I think this sums up the 2 points I just made, is specifically the fear of death, right? That's the final thing I'm gonna talk about. So this whole movie was centered around death, a universal death, and main antagonist names means death. Thanos, death. But the fear of death was what plagued everybody. Thor's fear of death, he probably had a fear, fear of losing his godship, losing his the death of his height as a warrior by losing to Thanos. Hulk's fear of death was his fear was the death of his Hulk ego, the death of losing that power. You know what I'm saying? He didn't want to lose that power, and that was a fear that he faced, the death of the Hulk. Iron Man's fear of death. He couldn't. I noticed that Iron Man, when Spider-Man died, he didn't want to let Spider-Man go, right? You know what I'm saying? He had a fear of death of losing somebody, and that was connected to ego and love, because we know that ego ego is what tells you that you die, and love is the emotions that comes along with that. So when you have emotions such as love or strong emotion in general, and the ego, you're gonna have a fear of death, which is not which is not really was not which is that fear of death is not real. It's a animalistic mind state. Uh, Also, another thing was I'm gonna come back to Wanda and Vision, but another thing was T'Challa, the Black Panther, and um, the the warrior female from Wakanda. She didn't want to lose T'Challa as the king. That was her king, and he was about to disappear. So when Thanos, when he finds he was gold and snapped his fingers, right? When he snapped his fingers, everybody started disintegrating. T'Challa didn't want her to die, but she didn't want the king to die. But to T'Challa, she was more important because she's a female, right? And it's natural to have the female live so she can carry on the next generation. You know what I'm saying? Not just physically, but to help raise up the next generation, to help raise up the kingdom. And he ended up disappearing, and she couldn't get over the fear of death, the death of her king. That was another fear of death. The fear of death of Wanda and Vision. She didn't want him to die. Gamora's fear. She didn't want her loved ones to die. But I think one of her fears of death was the. When I say fear of death, I mean death means the ending, right? So she didn't want the. I think truly she didn't want the love between her and Thanos to end, right? Because if we go back to the scene with the cliff, she convinced herself that Thanos loved nobody, right? She convinced herself Thanos loved nobody and he'll never get the Soul Stone. But now I'm thinking about it, that could be seen from multiple perspective. But from that was her ego telling her that she didn't think that Thanos loved her, but she subconsciously knew and internally knew that Thanos had loved her, and all along she probably had a fear that Thanos would stop loving her, right? So on internally, if from an emotional aspect, she had a fear that Thanos all his love would disappear entirely, or in order to achieve his goal. So, and including her love, including the love for her, and she also had a fear of her own life, which was the physical aspect. That if Thanos still loved her, he was gonna throw her over the cliff and achieve the Soul Stone. So that's another aspect of fear of death. Basically, pretty much the fear of death was wrapped up at the end when everybody started disintegrating after Thanos achieved all 7 stones and snapped his fingers. So now I'm gonna go to Thanos himself. Thanos is a complex character. Apparently, you could say his fear of death was was the end of the universe. That's why he was trying to wipe out half the population in order to stop overpopulation, and it's because the lack of resources on these planets, which would create wars because of inequality. You could say that, but I think Thanos' fear was his fear of the ending of comfortability, not just life in general, but comfortability, because he didn't was comfortable. Now he has a fear of the end of comfortability on a universal whole, right? So with that fear of death he had, not necessarily physical death, but the fear of, happiness, living a comfortable life. He went on ahead and he felt that it was his divine duty to save all the universe from this fate of death. Not just, no, I'm talking about not really physical death, but the death of happiness, the death of life. You know what I'm saying? Not actually physically dying, but the death, the psychological death of life. Hold on for a second. But sorry about that. That was a so another fear of death that Daniel could have was the fear of his morality. He didn't want to the end because at the end of the movie, you can see what he truly wanted was happiness. He wanted to go to his own heaven. So this whole movie was just about different psychological states and different levels, different levels of the mental that we go through, and also the various perspectives of the mind that we go through as we exist. And at the end, Thanos would reach the highest perspective, which is one's own heaven. That wouldn't be the highest perspective, but that was his highest perspective that Thanos saw at that time, and that was his heaven. I just want to sit down and see the sunset. So Thanos' fear was he did not want his morality, or not necessarily morality. I don't know. I'm trying to find a word for it because I don't want to say humanity because Thanos not human. I guess his. Damn, I can't think of a word right now. Sorry, but I'm gonna say morality because Thanos, he knew what he was doing was was vicious, and in a sense, I don't think he thought what he was doing wrong, but he knew it was not pretty, and in all, he really had a fear of losing his morality, which is why he wanted to achieve all 7 stones in order to basically become a god, right? So he could rise above all that, because he, you know what I'm saying, it was no good and evil in this movie. So good and evil all depends on perception. So he rose above good and evil. He rose all the way up to the highest level of of consciousness, and at the end he was able to reach his own heaven, right? And and by having all 7 Infinity Stones, I don't think he can die, physically, since he has time, space, reality. So I don't think that Thanos can necessarily die, according to what the stones are supposed to do. So basically, Thanos' fear of death was fear of death of everything, physically, psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. So he, and eventually at the end, what is displayed that he overcame basically the idea of ending. That's why, there we go, Infinity Stones. The whole idea of Thanos was overcoming death. Death means to end, but he wanted to reach infinity. So I'm saying he didn't want the universe to end. He didn't want his emotions to end. He didn't want anything to end. He wanted to reach God level where he would be infinite. He would have no fear of losing anything anymore. I'm saying he wanted to transcend. So he transcended beyond that, and he became a god at the end, and he reached his own heaven. That's what heaven is. Heaven is a state of mind. So the Thanos' fear was his death in all aspects that you could possibly think of with your limited mind. Death of love, death of ego, death of happiness, death of life, this in death of the body, death of the mind. So that's why I said Thanos is a complex character. So with that said, I'm trying to think of anything else, because I saw this movie a week ago, so it's not exactly fresh. Let's see. Thanos, I would say Thanos couldn't necessarily hand. I don't think he was able to grasp his mortality. There we go. It was his fear of mortality. He couldn't necessarily grasp that. Right. And you also say that his fear, you can have a fear that his mortality would disallow him to reach greater heights, and that was his love for his daughters, his love for his crew members, and he wanted to go beyond that. But yet at the same time, he wanted to equally distribute this. He wanted to equally distribute that happiness with everybody else. So if you really think about it, Thanos wasn't he the way he think he was not crazy. He was very intellectual, and he was actually very considerate because he reached his own heaven. But at the same time, he brought in what he, from his perception and his perspective, he brought heaven to the entirety of the universe. So Thanos, you know what I'm saying, he was actually the protagonist, and you could probably even say that he would be the hero of this story. But as we know, the cliffhanger of the movie, there's gonna be more to it. And I just read I didn't even see the post credit scene. Because I was not sitting there waiting for it in the movie theaters. Cause I had to go. Cause it was late. I had to go catch the bus. You know. But I didn't even see the post credit scenes. But we know there was a cliffhanger because Doctor Strange purposely gave the Time Stone to Thanos, which we all know Doctor Strange. He wouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Without purpose, he wouldn't. Doctor Strange has a plan, so that's a cliffhanger with that. Because the Time Stone was allowed Doctor Strange to see all possible realities, and when he saw one reality, and he said, "I couldn't think of any other way. There was no other way." You know, so that was probably something about that. But other than that I'm gonna wrap this up because I've been talking for half an hour, and I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. So that was my review. So what will I give this movie out of 10? I gave this movie I'm gonna be a little bit generous. 8 out of 10. Right? So that's good. I'm saying it was a very good movie. 8 out of 10. And I expect the next one to be greater. So why? But that's to be sure. So why specifically I wouldn't give the movie an 8 out of 10? I mean, a 10 out of 10, like everybody would say, like, oh my god, this movie's so awesome. Everybody's saying this movie was super, very excellent, good. But I would say it was just only very good. The reason why is because it's just the same old themes recycled. And these themes are basically that everybody's actions is because of some type of traumatized event that happened to them. You know what I'm saying? And which led to these people, particularly the antagonists, to do what they do. They don't do it because it's them, really. They only do it because something interfered with the comfortability of their life. We've seen that over and over again. So it's not really anything new. It's repetitive, but it was still good. That's why I only give it an 8 out of 10, which is a good score. So this was your boy. I go by my YouTube name is D-Hop, aka The Weed, right? So that was my Infinity War movie review. I hope you enjoyed it. If anything you want to add on, you know what I'm saying, I'm not a genius. Anything you want to add on, go ahead. And I'm going to go ahead and end this video. So peace, have a nice day, night, wherever you are on the planet. Alright? And live freely. Out.